These neighborhoods are our neighborhoods, and these children are our children. And we're going to have to come together and take meaningful action to prevent more tragedies like this, regardless of the politics.
President Obama today on the shooting. The massacre is raising new questions about the access of guns in America. We know as New York Congressman Gerald Nadler, who's urgently calling for more gun control. Also John Lott, a former chief economist of the United States Sentencing Commission and author of More Guns, Less Crime. Dan Gross, who's president of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. And Steve Dulan, who's the attorney for the Michigan Coalition of Responsible Gun Owners. Let me start with you, if I may, Congressman. You were pretty outspoken today saying this is time now to bring in new gun control laws.
Yes, I mean, if this doesn't wake us up, I don't know what will. And I was heartened that the president said that we had to take meaningful action, and the only meaningful action he can take is to lead a crusade, and to use the bully pulpit and lead a crusade for reasonable gun control legislation in Congress. You know, these massacres are taking place more and more often. We saw, by the way, today a very similar incident in China, where a madman attacked an elementary school in China with a knife. We had 22 injured children, injured, not dead. And that's the difference. In the United States, you know, we have 9,000 people killed with guns last year. In similar countries like Germany, 170, Canada, 150. There's a reason for that. Because
what would you like to see in terms of specific gun control? Well,
there are a number of pieces of legislation that we've been pushing for years. No reasonable gun owner who's a sportsman can object to bans on assault weapons made only to kill as many human beings as possible in a military situation. Nobody can reasonably object to a ban on sale of large ammunition clips so you can't reload. Nobody can reasonably object to micro-stamping of cartridges so you can trace the murder weapon. No one can reasonably object to eliminating the gun show exception, so that even if you buy a gun at a gun show, they still have to check your background to make sure they're not selling a gun to someone on the terrorist watch list, or to a mentally unstable person, or to a felon. Those are the reasonable things we should do.
Let me turn to you, John Lott. We've had a heated debate before about this after a previous incident. Two things happened in 1996. There was a massacre in Tasmania in which 35 people were killed, and the Australians, led by the Prime Minister John Howard, who was right-wing, friend of George W. Bush, he brought in pretty draconian new laws after that. He banned semi-automatic and automatic rifles and shotguns. As a result, over the next decade, firearm homicide rate fell by 59%. The firearm suicide rate fell by 65%.
That's not true.
That is true.
No, it's not.
No, it is true.
If you look over time...
We say it's not true. It is true.
I'm telling you, people can go and look up the Australian national statistics themselves. And what you find is that for decades, the murder rate was falling in Australia. It basically stopped falling. If you just compare the average over 2 decades where it's falling to what it was afterwards, it makes it look like the average before is higher than the average afterwards. But if you look on a year-by-year basis, there wasn't that fall.
Why does Adam Lanza's mother, who sadly was killed by him today, why did she need to have these 3 weapons?
Can I just follow up one thing on the Australian thing?
I want you to answer this. Why did she need to have these 3 weapons legally purchased, including this semi-automatic Bushmaster? Why would a woman teacher at a kindergarten need these weapons in her home, allowing, therefore, a clearly deranged son to take them and commit this atrocity?
You know, whatever that gun looks like, it's a semi-automatic rifle. Any hunting rifle just about is a semi-automatic rifle. Just because it looks different on the outside doesn't mean it functions differently.
But he fired off over 100 rounds in several minutes.
Look,
with this apparently harmless assault rifle.
Nobody said guns were harmless. Guns make it easier.
You just try to make up. It's just an average old gun.
Look,
he fired over 100 rounds, and he killed 20 children.
Right.
20 children between 5 and 10. At what point do you gun lobby guys say, we get it, it's time for change?
Right, it is time. We have... Look where
time to do what?
Is to get rid of some of these gun laws that cause the gun-free zones. Look what's happened. All these attacks this year have occurred where guns are banned. Okay? Well, look at the Aurora movie theater shooting. There were 7 movies...
What the hell has that got to do with it?
The point.
Seriously, what has that got to do with it?
Well, you never let me explain.
You think he
can I say
it
something?
was a gun-free zone?
Look at the Aurora movie theater one, for example. There were 7 movie theaters showing the Batman movie within a 20-minute drive of where the killer lived. Only one of those banned guns. He didn't go to the movie theater closest to his home. He didn't go to the movie theater with the largest screen. He went to the one movie theater that banned guns. Now, if you look at bans generally, you can't point to a place, you know, Chicago, D.C., where we banned guns. Murder rates, violent crimes went up afterwards. In the UK, in Jamaica, Ireland, island nations that have banned guns, you can't find a place where murder rates have actually gone down. They've gone up, usually by large amounts.
You cannot find a place.
Okay. Let me bring it down here.
First of all, I mean, basically every statistic that John Locke just cited is pure bunk in terms of the fact that more guns equals that's true. They were gun-free zones, but attributing that to the fact that this violence occurred, that's where I have to step in because listen, my brother was shot in a shooting on top of the Empire State Building, which was incredibly chaotic. I know firsthand. I've talked with the victims from the Aurora tragedy and all these tragedies. To a person, they all say if there were another person there that were armed, it would have undoubtedly led to more carnage. There's going to be a guess. Excuse me. I let you talk. Let me finish. Let me finish. In every one of these cases, they say if there were more guns, it would have only led to more chaos. Look at the recent Empire State Building shooting here in New York, where there were highly trained law enforcement officers in the chaos. There were 8 other people shot, and every one of them was an innocent civilian, and every one of them was shot by one of these law enforcement officers.
Let me bring in Steve Dillon here. He's the attorney for the Michigan Coalition of Responsible Gun Owners. You believe, Mr. Dillon, believe that there should be more guns in schools. Is that right?
Well, I believe that those of us who are licensed to carry are responsible people shouldn't be prohibited from carrying in schools or other places. In fact, the Michigan legislature just passed a bill last night and sent to the governor for signature, a bill that would allow those of us who are licensed to take one more day of training, including range time, and then actually be able to carry in the places where we couldn't carry before.
Why on earth would you want more guns in schools after what's happened today?
Here's why, Piers. If we could suddenly make all guns disappear, I'd have a different position. But I spend a lot of time thinking about this and reading about it. I teach a class at the law school level called Gun Control Seminar, and I get a new group of law students every term, and we discuss this in detail. And the simple facts are guns exist. They are essentially 1800s technology. Even semi-automatics came into being in the late 1800s. They're easy to make. They're not going anywhere. They last several human lifetimes with minimal maintenance. So since guns exist, and we know for a fact that the only way to stop an evil person, like the person you were discussing earlier in the show, is to shoot him, or he's going to shoot himself.
Hang on. This is exactly the argument that I've been hearing ever since I've joined CNN. I joined on air about a week after Gabby Giffords, a congresswoman, was shot in the head. Right, ever since then, we've had the Sikh temple, the Aurora incident, we had the shopping mall last week, guy downstairs shot in the head from our New York bureau, and so on and so on and so on. And the argument I keep hearing is, well, if everybody else was armed, it wouldn't happen. It's a load of total hogwash, isn't it? No. If everyone had been armed at that movie theatre, twice as many people would have been killed in the mayhem that erupted.
Give an example where people have stopped these attacks and a bystander's been hit. You can't give me one example where a bystander's been hit by a permit holder.
The Empire State Building.
Where a permit holder.
Can I just...
The proof of the pudding
you don't
is that in every other industrialized country in the world,
gun shows
other than the United States, they have reasonable gun control laws, and they have 100 people a year, not 9,000 or 10,000 a year killed by guns.
Guys, listen,
Japan,
but it was lower before gun control there.
Japan adopted strong gun control laws.
And has almost zero crime.
And their homicide rate plummeted.
But the point is, the gun control didn't change it.
In Scotland, in Dunblane, in 1996, there was a very similar school shooting.
Right.
Just an awful situation. 16 young children killed exactly as they were today.
You know what, the two of the four...
as a result of this, they brought in a handgun ban. 162,000 handguns were handed in. right? It is time for an
And murder
amnesty.
rates
in
went up.
America.
Listen,
There's an
Lemon.
amnesty in Australia as
Murder
well.
rates went up.
There are about 35 murders
but
a
it was
year
high-
in Britain.
but it was lower for another
there
reason.
are nearly
It was lower for
12,000
another
murders
reason.
a year from guns in this country.
The point is,
when are
it
you
went
guys
up.
going to focus on that?
But it
And
wa-
stop telling me
but it
the
wa-
answer is more guns.
No,
it
but
is not the answer.
Look,
Listen.
It was
I
Let's
higher
focus on
than
it.
it
Let's
was
focus on it.
I need to say
after the
something
ban.
here.
It was higher than it was before the ban.
So you
Okay.
want more guns, not less.
I'm saying, look,
300 million guns in
when you
America
ban-
isn't enough for
when
you.
you ban guns,
How many more
the
kids
law-
have to die before you guys say
look,
we want less guns, not more?
I'm
Piers,
upset
I want to
about
tell you
this.
something
He asked me a question.
I want to tell you
Let him
something.
answer the question.
I'm upset because I worry that the gun control laws that you're pushing have killed people.
Oh,
that
what
when
a
you
lot of nonsense.
look, you have to explain.
Nonsense.
Listen,
You
An
have to-
average of 35 killings from guns in Britain a year.
No,
in a
but-
place that banned handguns.
But it was
Here,
lower
no ban
before
on these
they
guns.
had the gun control
12,000
laws.
people a year die from gun murders.
If
Look,
there are
there are
30
lots of
maths.
differences
If there are
across
35
countries.
Can I-
total in
You
Britain,
have to
Can I please
understand
have the opportunity to say
that if
something without
you
screaming?
ban-
I mean,
Yeah, there is. I'm sorry, but
No, I want the-
woke
I
up
just
today.
need to-
I've been debating this all
Yeah.
week. Following the Bob Costas thing,
Yeah.
the shopping mall and so on, following Aurora. I've been debating it for months, if not 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm so frustrated. I'm so furious that these
yes,
kids
yes.
have been blown away again with legally acquired weapons.
But you have-
Some boy who's got problems takes his mother's 3 weapons, including this ridiculous assault rifle, and goes into school and kills
what
his
you
kids.
ought to be-
And you guys on the gun lobby still want to tell me
Piers,
the
I'm not-
answer is more guns.
Piers,
Look, I'm an
It is
academic.
madness.
No,
Here's what you ought
but
to be
where?
most
Why?
angry
Yes, sir.
How
What you
else
ought to
can
be
you
most
stop
angry
someone who's
about-
shooting
If you,
people?
if you could let the congressman speak,
What you
please.
ought to be most angry about is that every poll shows that by massive majorities, Americans agree with what you just said. Right. And yet we have a lobby, the leadership of the NRA, who function as enablers of mass murderers. And that's what they are. They're enablers of mass murder because they terrify the class
Absolutely
of
not
political
true.
people. And even though polling shows that most NRA members would support reasonable gun controls, but every time someone proposes it, they come in, they lie, they say they'll take your guns away, and they stop any kind of legislation to prevent
nobody outside
that.
of the military and the
Let's
police
talk
force in this
about
country
enabling.
Agreed.
needs one of these in their
But
homes.
we need
Nobody.
the
End of story.
I have to be
Enabling
able to say something
criminals.
without
Final word,
screaming.
final
I
word.
Listen, the encouraging thing, and what you should hopefully take inspiration, because we're all frustrated, we're all outraged, is this conversation and what these guys are saying does not represent what the American public wants. It does not represent the conversation that the American public wants to have. We're all in favor of things like criminal background checks. 74% of NRA members are. 40% of all gun sales don't require a background check. That's something that we all agree on. And there are things that we can do.
And it's not, as they try and tell me, an anti-American thing.
Right.
To say, I respect the Second Amendment,
Right.
I respect the right of every
Right.
family to defend themselves. I don't respect the right
this
for families to load their homes with these so that a disturbed kid can take them
And
and
this
blow up a
debate,
school.
this
Second
debate is
Amendment
not as
argument.
polarized as
We
this
are,
gentleman
we are
screaming
ending the
would
debate
imply.
for now, but this will continue next week. I
You
can
have to
guarantee
explain
it.
why
I'm going to
all these attacks occur
come back.
where guns are
Come
banned.
back next week when you've had time to think about this, because you have to change your thinking. The gun lobby has to change its
Why
thinking.
do all these
We're going to leave
attacks
it there.
occur
Coming
where the
next.
guns are banned?
Coming next, survivors from other mass shootings share their thoughts on today's appalling massacre.